From Lucy's impossible accuracy with a tranquilizer gun, to Cooper Howard literally using an aimbot in the dark, today we are going to look at every perk in the Fallout TV show explained. Let's start with our vault dweller, Lucy McLean. She is the quintessential good karma playthrough, at least at the start. She enters the wasteland with that naive optimism that usually gets players killed in 5 minutes. But she survives, and that is because her build is actually kind of cracked. First off, let's talk about strength. You might look at Lucy and think she is running a low strength build, but you would be wrong. She has definitely invested in strongback. In the games, strongback is one of those quality of life perks that becomes essential because, let's be honest, we are all hoarder. It lets you carry more weight in your inventory. In the show, notice how Lucy is constantly hauling gear. She has her pack, she picks up scavenged items, and she never seems physically slowed down by the burden. It's reminiscent of how Maximus and Thaddeus have to haul those squire bags, which are clearly designed for characters with the strongback perk. Speaking of firearms, let's look at her perception stat. Lucy is not a spray and pray kind of fighter. She is a precision shooter. She is running the rifleman perk, or what Fallout 76 eventually rebranded as Downranger. This perk increases damage with non-automatic rifles. Throughout the season, Lucy favors semi-automatic precision. In episode 1, during the raid on Vault 33, she grabs a tranquilizer rifle. She isn't panic firing, she is taking measured shot. Later, in the heartbreaking finale of episode 8, when she has to mercy kill her mother, she uses a standard ballistic pistol. Now, normally rifleman applies to rifles, but the show seems to blend this with the non-automatic damage buff ethos. She takes a single, precise shot. No wasted ammo. That is the hallmark of a high perception build, focusing on single shot damage. She also pairs this with crack shot. This is a perk that increases range and accuracy for small guns when you aim down the sight. Remember the confrontation in Philly in episode 2? The ghoul is tearing people apart, bullets are flying, and Lucy is trying to de-escalate. When she finally decides she has to fire, she raises that tranquilizer gun and hits the ghoul directly in the heart, dead center. The drugs didn't work because he is a chem-fueled monster, but the shot placement was perfect. Now, you cannot survive the wasteland without endurance, and Lucy takes a beating. She essentially has the Life Giver perk. In the games, this just flat out boosts your maximum health. Look at what happens to her. She gets stabbed in the gut by Monty in episode 1. She loses a finger in episode 4. She gets radiation sickness, and she gets thrown around by a power-armored soldier. Any normal person would be dead 3 times over. But Lucy has that extended health pool. She stabilizes, she heals, and she keeps moving. Speaking of enduring harsh conditions, we have to talk about lead belly. In the games, this perk allows you to eat radioactive food and drink dirty water with less radiation damage. In episode 4, the ghoul essentially forces Lucy to drink from a puddle of irradiated water. While she eventually needs Radaway, she survives an exposure that would have flat out killed a low endurance character. She holds on long enough to get treatment, proving she has the lead belly resistance to withstand the initial toxicity. This ties directly into her intelligence stat, specifically the first aid or medic perk. In episode 1, right after Monty stabs her, she retreats to the bathroom, finds a first aid kit, and expertly administers an auto-injector stim pack directly into the wound. A novice would have needed 3 stim packs to fix a gut wound like that. Lucy did it with 1. Her intelligence stat also shines with the robotics expert perk. This is one of the coolest inclusions in the show. In episode 4, she is trapped in the Super Duper Mart by Snip Snip, that insane Mr. Handy robot who wants to harvest her organ. Most people would try to shoot the robot or run. Lucy uses her brain. She kicks the buzzsaw into her restraint to cut herself loose, but then she grabs a defibrillator and shocks the robot in a specific spot to overload its circuit. That is the hack and pacify mechanic of robotics expert translated perfectly to live action. We also have to mention the Daddy's Girl perk. It gives bonuses to science and medicine, representing knowledge passed down from a father figure. Plus, we can't forget the educated perk. This gives you extra skill points, or in a role-playing sense, extra knowledge. In episode 6, Lucy is in the Vault 4 classroom looking at the chalkboard timeline. She immediately spots the discrepancy between the Fall of Shady Sands date and her own knowledge of history and her mother's death. She identifies the NCR flag and analyzes the geopolitical history on the fly. That is the educated perk, giving giving her the intelligence checks to piece together the lore. Before we get to the really crazy genetic stuff, if you are enjoying this, smash that subscribe button. If you don't subscribe, there is a non-zero chance a rad roach will spawn in your kitchen tonight. Okay, back to Lucy's DNA. We can't ignore the fact that Lucy is apparently immune to genetic mutation. This is the starched genes perk. In Fallout 76, this luck, or endurance depending on the patch, perk prevents you from mutating when you take high rad. Lucy drinks from a radioactive trough. She walks through the wasteland until her hair is falling out and she is vomiting. She is taking massive rad. The ghoul even mocks her, saying she will end up like him, but she doesn't. She heals the radiation with rad away, and she is fine. No third arm, no scales, no healing factor. She stays human. That is starched genes locking her DNA in place. And speaking of luck, she definitely has pharma. This perk increases your chance of finding medical chems in container. Lucy has the devil's own luck with finding meds. Stabbed in episode 1, boom. Stim pack in the bathroom mirror. Need to save the ghoul from going feral in episode 4? She just happens to find a massive stash of the specific yellow vials he needs inside the super duper mart. She scavenges exactly what she needs, exactly when she needs it. Lucy also clearly benefits from the mysterious savior perk. In the games, this is a luck-based ability where a mysterious figure appears to revive or save you when you are downed. Lucy should have died multiple times, but she gets bailed out by timely interventions that feel exactly like the perk triggering. In episode 2, just as the ghoul is about to execute her, Maximus comes charging in with his power armor to save her. Then, in the finale of episode 8, when her father Hank is about to likely kill her, the ghoul emerges from the shadows to shoot Hank. These aren't just plot coincidences. In game terms, that is the mysterious savior showing up to keep the player in the game. Let's talk about her agility. Lucy is fast. She is running the gun runner perk. This perk increases your running speed when you have a pistol equipped. Think back to the Vault 33 raid. She is in her wedding dress. She has that tranquilizer pistol in her hand, and she is sprinting through the corridors. She also utilizes pack-and-light. This gives you faster action point regeneration when you are wearing light armor or no armor. Lucy spends 90% of the show in a jumpsuit or light leather. She never puts on combat armor or metal plate. This allows her to sprint, dodge, and scramble away from danger in episodes 2 and 4 without getting winded. Finally, for Lucy, we have to talk about charisma. She is running a high charisma build, utilizing inspirational. This perk grants bonuses to your companion. Look at Maximus. When he is alone, he is kind of a mess. He gets bullied. He gets his foot stuck. He loses his armor parts. When he teams up with Lucy, he becomes a hero. In episode 5, on the bridge, Lucy tries to negotiate. It fails, but her presence triggers something in Maximus. He snaps into action and drops 2 fiends instantly. She makes him better. That is the inspirational perk. She also effectively has magnetic personality. She collects companions like Pokemon. She starts alone, then she has Maximus, then she eventually wins over the ghoul, and she even had the Vault 4 residents liking her for a bit. People want to be around her, and they fight better when they are. Maximus's build is technically all over the place, which fits his character arc of trying to figure out who he is. But when he is in the power armor, he is running a very specific heavy gunner setup. First, let's talk strength. When he is in the T60 armor, he is utilizing Pain Train. This is iconic. In Fallout 4, Pain Train lets you damage and stagger enemies just by sprinting into them while wearing power armor. In episode 2, the fight in Philly, Maximus arrives like a freight train. He doesn't shoot the ghoul initially. He tackles Lucy out of the way. But look at the physics of it. He hits with the force of a semi-truck. Later, in episode 7 at Vault 4, as soon as he puts the fusion core in, he uses the armor's mass to just shove through the crowd. He is sprinting and letting the collision box do the damage. That is Pain Train. But you don't just shove people, you have to shoot them too, which brings us to Heavy Gunner. This is the bread and butter of his damage output. In episode 2, we see Knight Titus shoot the mutated Yaoguai multiple times, and it basically just ticks the bear off because Titus's build is trash. Maximus picks up that exact same heavy weapon and kills the bear with a single high damage shot to the head. That is the damage multiplier from Heavy Gunner rank 5. He is getting double damage on heavy weapon, turning a spongy enemy into a one-shot kill. Before he even gets in the suit though, we see his strength stat at work with Strongback. In the games, this allows you to carry an additional 50 palm of equipment, which is essential for Hoarder. In Episode 2, Maximus is shown carrying Knight Titus's immense equipment bag across the wilderness. That thing is the size of a refrigerator. A normal character would be over-encumbered and walking at a snail's pace, but Maximus is hiking just fine, proving he has the weight capacity buffs of Strongback. However, Maximus also has perks that work outside the armor, and some that highlight what he is missing. Let's look at his perception. He has Crack Shot, similar to Lucy, but he uses it differently. In Episode 5, on the bridge, he grabs Lucy's sidearm and executes a perfect double tap on the Fiend's Rink and Javan. He is snapping to targets instantly. This tells us his base build is small gun, but he is forced to use heavy guns by the Brotherhood. This creates a really interesting ludonarrative dissonance, where his stats don't match his gear until he gets the armor. Once he is in the armor, he benefits from Stabilize. This is an intelligence perk that gives heavy guns more accuracy and armor penetration, but only while wearing power armor. In Episode 2, facing the Yao Guai, he shoots it in the head. A normal shot would bounce off a mutated bear skull, but with Stabilized, he pierces the hide and drops the monster with one shot. The armor compensates for his lack of natural skill. Speaking of the armor, we have to talk about Power Patcher. This intelligence perk makes your power armor break 60% slower and cheaper to repair. In Episode 2, that T-60 suit takes point-blank gunfire from the ghoul. While a specific part, the tempo regulator, breaks, the main chassis holds together. Without Power Patcher, that suit would have been total scrap metal, but Maximus manages to keep it functional enough to fly away. Maximus also relies heavily on luck, specifically the Mysterious Savior perk. This is the perk where, when you die, a mysterious figure appears and saves you. Maximus should have died 10 times. In Episode 8, Maximus is on his knees before Elder Cleric Quintus. He is done, executed. The gun is basically at his head. Suddenly, Dane, who we thought was out of the picture or hostile, steps in and saves him. Dane is the Mysterious Savior. Maximus has a luck stat of 10, I swear. He fails upwards constantly because the universe and his perks refuses to let him die. Charisma-wise, Maximus is running Bodyguard. This perk grants damage and energy resistance for each teammate you have. Maximus is terrible alone. He gets bullied in boot camp. He gets beaten up by scavengers when he is out of the armor. But in Episode 8, during the assault on the observatory, he is taking hits. He is fighting knights. He is unstoppable. Why? Because Dane is right there. The perk is active. We also have to address the power armor training. In the early games, you didn't need a perk, but in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, you absolutely did. The show treats this like a skill check that Maximus initially failed. In Episode 2, he fights the ghoul in Philly. He is clumsy. He trips. He gets his foot stuck in a boardwalk. The ghoul literally mocks him for it, saying the armor is a crutch. He is wearing the suit, but he isn't using the suit. Over the season, we see him gain this perk. By Episode 8, he is moving fluidly. He is engaging multiple targets. He is flying. He spent his level up points during the season to acquire the training. Now, we have to talk about the ghoul, Cooper Howard, the man, the myth, the noseless legend. If Lucy is a level 5 character and Maximus is a level 10, the ghoul is a level 50 player who has been min-maxing his build for 200 years. He is running a VATS critical build that is absolutely terrifying. Let's start with his strength. You might think a gunslinger is all agility, but Cooper has clearly invested in Barbarian. This perk raises critical damage in melee, or grants damage resistance based on strength. In Episode 1, at the graveyard, he gets physical. He lassos Honcho and slams him to the ground with the force of a super mutant. Later, in Episode 4, he brutally overpowers Lucy, cutting off her finger in a close quarters struggle. That is high strength melee dominance characteristic of a barbarian build. Moving to perception, it is clearly maxed out at 10. He is using concentrated fire. In the games, this allows you to target specific body parts in VATS and increases accuracy with every shot. In Episode 2, during the standoff with Wilzig, the ghoul targets the foot. He blows the foot off. That is a called shot. But he isn't just a pistol main. He is running rifleman and expert rifleman too. In that same graveyard fight in Episode 1, he picks up Slim's dropped rifle. A novice would fumble with a new weapon, but the ghoul maneuvers Slim as a human shield and instantly blows Biggie's head off with perfect precision. That is the rifleman perk, granting increased damage and limb crippling capability to non-automatic rifle, but he also has the Bloody Mess perk. This grants a flat damage bonus, but more importantly, it makes enemies explode into red paste. In episode 1, when he kills Biggie with the shotgun, Biggie's head doesn't just have a hole in it, it evaporates. In Philly, he blows a hole through a raider that you could drive a truck through. That is the excessive gore of bloody meth. The ghoul also has lead belly, allowing him to eat raw meat and drink dirty water without penalty. He eats Roger. Let's not forget that. He has the cannibal perk. This is a dark one. It lets you eat corpses to regain health. After killing Roger, he starts carving him up immediately. Lucy is horrified, but for the ghoul, it's just a health potion. It's survival. He also has Chem Fiend. He is constantly chugging those yellow vials. He takes drugs that would kill a normal human. In episode 4, at the Super Duper Mart, he is going into withdrawal. He finds a stash of chems and gorges himself. A normal character would overdose. The ghoul just gets back to full HP. His chem duration and tolerance are off the chart. To balance this out, he likely has chem resistance. This perk reduces the chance of getting addicted. In episode 2, he calls a tranquilizer dart a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drug. Despite the massive quantities of random wasteland chems he ingests to stay non-feral, he remains functionally elite, suggesting he has the constitution to resist the negative debuffs that usually come with such heavy usage. Let's look at his agility. He has Action Boy. This perk regenerates action points faster. In the graveyard fight, he performs like 5 complex actions in 3 seconds. Lasso, pull, shoot, spin, shoot. That requires a massive AP pool. He never seems to run out of breath or slow down. This momentum is maintained by adrenaline. In Fallout 4, every kill grants a temporary damage bonus. In Philly, the ghoul chains kills resident, Majun, the dog. He gets more lethal as the fight drags on, riding that adrenaline stack. He also has Sneak. You wouldn't think a cowboy would be a stealth build, but in episode 3, he sneaks up on Lucy at the water's edge. She has no idea he is there until she hears his gun cocking. In episode 8, he infiltrates the observatory completely undetected. He bypasses the Brotherhood perimeter and gets into the control room. That is high-level sneaking, likely boosted by the covert operative perk. Charisma is a dump stat for the ghoul, or is it? He has the Lone Wanderer perk. This gives you massive damage reduction and carry weight when you don't have a companion. For most of the show, he is solo. He rejects Honcho's team in episode 1. He works alone. This makes him tougher. But then he picks up Dogmeat, CX404. In the games, having Dogmeat often doesn't count against the Lone Wanderer perk, which is a famous bug/feature. Or he swaps to the Attack Dog perk. In episode 7, he adopts the dog. He uses the dog to track. Attack Dog allows the dog to hold enemies and cause bleeding. CX404 is a vicious combatant, fitting this perk perfectly. We also see him use Intimidation. This is a charisma perk, where you aim your gun at an enemy and they surrender. He does this constantly. He intimidates Lucy. He intimidates the sand filter guy. He intimidates the entire town of Philly just by sitting there. One of the most subtle perks the ghoul uses is Penetrator or Tank Killer. He fights Brotherhood Knights in full T60 armor. That armor is walking tank plating. Small arms shouldn't hurt it, but the ghoul knows the weld point. He shoots a weak spot in the armor in episode 8. That is the Tank Killer perk, which grants armor penetration to rifles and pistols. He bypasses their insane damage resistance by knowing exactly where to hit. We should also mention Friend of the Night or Night Person. In episode 8, he kills the power to the observatory. It is pitch black. The knights can't see. The ghoul can. He picks them off in the dark. This perk grants night vision or increased perception at night. He uses the darkness as a weapon, turning the battlefield into his playground. There are also some minor characters who show off specific perks. Look at Steph Harper in episode 1. She is pregnant, she is at a wedding, and suddenly raiders attack. She gets stabbed in the eye with a fork, a literal dinner fork in the eyeball. Does she drop? No. She grabs a machine gun and kills the guy. That is the toughness perk. It grants pure damage resistance. She tanks a critical hit to the head and keeps fighting. That is a high-level NPC right there. Then there is Siggy Wilzig. He is a scientist, so high intelligent, but he has the animal friend or Wasteland Whisperer perk. He raises CX404. The dog is loyal to him to the death. When the Enclave guard finds them, the dog rips the guard's throat out. That is a companion bond forged through perk.